Most people picture a bullet as the entire cartridge, the small metal cylinder that goes into a gun. That's actually wrong, and the distinction matters. What's loaded into a firearm is called a cartridge, and a bullet is only one part of it. A modern cartridge is made up of 4 components. At the back is the primer, a tiny metal cap packed with a pressure-sensitive explosive compound. Above that sits the propellant, commonly known as gunpowder, though modern firearms use a refined version called smokeless powder. Surrounding all of it is the brass casing, which holds everything together. And at the front, seated at the top of the casing, is the bullet itself, the only part that actually leaves the gun. When the trigger is pulled, the firing pin strikes the primer at the back of the cartridge with significant force. This produces a small burst of hot gas and flame that shoots forward into the casing and ignites the smokeless powder packed behind the bullet. But this is where the real force comes from. Smokeless powder doesn't explode in the way most people imagine. It deflagrates, meaning it burns extremely rapidly rather than detonating. In the fraction of a second it takes to burn, it produces an enormous volume of expanding gas, far more gas than the casing has room to contain. That gas has nowhere to go except forward, and it pushes against the base of the bullet with tremendous pressure. In a typical handgun cartridge, that pressure reaches somewhere between 50,000 and 65,000 pounds per square inch. The bullet is forced out of the casing and into the barrel. Inside the barrel is where the bullet's direction and accuracy are determined. The interior of a gun barrel isn't smooth. It's cut with a series of spiral grooves running from one end to the other, a pattern called rifling. As the bullet travels down the barrel under that enormous gas pressure, the rifling grips its soft metal surface and forces it to spin. That spin is what makes a bullet fly straight. The same principle keeps a thrown football stable in the air. Without it, the bullet would tumble chaotically the moment it left the barrel and would be wildly inaccurate beyond a few feet. As soon as the bullet exits the barrel, the gas pressure behind it drops instantly. It vents into the open air. The bullet is now moving entirely on its own, typically somewhere between 500 and 1,000 yards per second, depending on the cartridge. From this point, gravity and air resistance take over. The bullet begins to drop the moment it leaves the barrel, which is why rifle sights are calibrated to account for that drop over distance. The brass casing, meanwhile, stays behind in the chamber. In semi-automatic and automatic firearms, the same expanding gas that launched the bullet is used to cycle the action, ejecting the spent casing and chambering the next cartridge automatically. In a revolver, the spent casings stay in the cylinder until manually removed. In a bolt-action rifle, the shooter operates a handle to eject and reload by hand. One detail most people never consider is what happens to the bullet's energy on impact. A bullet doesn't simply punch through a target cleanly. It transfers its kinetic energy into whatever it strikes. The amount of damage caused isn't just about speed, it's about how rapidly that energy is transferred. This is why different bullet designs exist. A full metal jacket bullet, where the lead core is fully enclosed in a harder metal shell, tends to pass through a target while retaining its shape. A hollow point bullet, which has a cavity at its tip, is designed to expand on impact, mushrooming outward. That expansion slows the bullet faster and transfers more energy in a shorter distance, which is why hollow points are standard in law enforcement. They are more effective at stopping a threat while being less likely to pass through entirely and strike something behind the target. Click the video on your screen right now and I'll explain another everyday mystery you've wondered about your whole life but never thought to look up.